When's the last time that you were on autopilot? You are physically present, you're going through the motions, but your mind is elsewhere. It could be while you're driving, it could be while you're eating or shopping, or during a meeting, or scrolling on your phone, or doing a routine at work. It could be while spending time with loved ones. I've even read about neurosurgeons in the act of doing brain surgery admit to their mind wandering. And for a personal example, I'll admit that I've driven places and arrived and not remembered whole parts of the trip. In fact, there was one time I was driving back in college, I was driving up Pacific Coast Highway with a friend, and at one instant, it was just for a fraction of a second, I got distracted, looked over my shoulder, and I driving at high speed and spun the car out. And thank God we were safe and the car was safe. But that fraction of a second was all it took for that accident to happen. Did you know that according to research, your mind is wandering about 50% of the time throughout the day on average and not fully present with what you're doing? And some of y'all are like, yeah, it's more like 90% for me, and I don't need research to tell me that. The point is, our attention is powerful. And when we don't invest it skillfully, it's like leaving a lot of money on the table. But what if you had a magic wand that could make anything grow that you directed at? Where would you point that wand? Your attention is that wand. But this is not magical thinking. Neuroscience supports this as well. Essentially, with time and repetition, what you pay attention to develops more neural activity in the brain, more associations. And as they say, neurons that fire together wire together. And this is how we build habits, intentionally or unintentionally. When my kids were babies and we needed a stroller, I remember that I was automatically paying attention to strollers in our environment. And I started noticing without intention all the details, from the brand to the shock absorbers to the cup holder situation and all the little bells and whistles on the different strollers. As soon as my kids didn't need a stroller anymore, suddenly I stopped paying attention to that. Right? It just kind of happened automatically. And I think a lot of us can think of different situations where when something comes to our attention that's of interest, suddenly we start to see it. It could be a type of car, could be when we're looking for a new place to live, all different types of scenarios. So our minds get pulled in a lot of different directions, often unintentionally. And on top of that, as humans, we're biologically predisposed to mind wandering. It's normal, it's natural. And on top of that, most of us work all day, and oftentimes our attention can get consumed by work and by tasks, right? Either at the home or at work. And on top of that, there is a whole marketing industry that's valued at over $1 trillion, over $1 trillion, and projected to grow to over 2 to 3 trillion with a T. All of that dedicated to competing for your attention. So your attention has a lot of value. And now they're using AI and algorithms to entice your attention and hold it. So your attention has a lot of value, a lot of value. But the value of your attention is worth protecting fiercely. And it's bigger than the financial value, although directing your attention towards that can certainly help in that department. It's bigger than productivity and just getting more tasks done on an ever-growing list, although it can certainly help to get things done too. Where and how you spend your attention with intention is the key to deeper transformative change in life towards a more fulfilling, a happier, and a more peaceful life. Neuroscientist and mindfulness practitioner Daniel Siegel says, where attention goes, neural firing flows and neural connection grows. So the question, again, is where do you want to point your wand of attention? So the question again is, where do you want to point your wand of attention to make something grow? And how do you want to strengthen the power of your attention to invest it more intentionally on what matters? And how do you want to strengthen the power of your attention to invest it more intentionally on what matters? Let's talk about it. I'll share with you now 3 mindfulness practices that are not meditations that can strengthen the skill of paying attention. These are practices that support centering and anchoring in my C.A.L.M framework for strengthening mindfulness. Number 1, set a clear intention for your attention. Number 2, notice when you get distracted. Number 3, return your attention to your object of focus. For the first one, setting a clear intention for your attention, sometimes we're so busy that we don't stop and think about what direction we're actually going in or where our energy is really invested and how divided our attention may be. When we're distracted or multitasking, we're less clear and we make more mistakes, right? Sometimes dangerous ones. So it's important to identify where and what you want to direct your attention towards and to focus on fully. This is a practice of monotasking instead of multitasking. And so it's an opportunity to set aside time, set aside the space, put up the do not disturb mode, whether that's on notifications on the phone, letting the people around you know if necessary, or just finding a quiet space to really get into the zone and focus on the topic at hand, your object of focus, right? Sometimes it can be helpful to set a timer, block out that time. It doesn't have to be a long time. It could be 30 minutes, could be an hour, but something where it's just meant to focus on that. And it could be for work, it can be for play, it could be art, could be a hobby or a practice that you'd like to give more attention to. And when we're more clear about the intention for our attention, we can set clearer boundaries to be able to help us focus. A little story with that. A long time ago, went to Plum Village, which is a mindfulness retreat center established by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master. And there, the monks and nuns did everything with great care and attention. And it was kind of like mindfulness Disneyland, right? The monks and nuns there were smiling and singing, and it was a very happy place and a very peaceful place. in the beautiful countryside in the south of France. And there was not a lot of entertainment, but what really impacted me was how, with each activity, it was done with intentionality and full presence. And it was done one thing at a time. There was no rush. And doing one thing at a time and being with that was letting it be enough, right? And could be, for example, just slowly chewing your food and savoring it. And in fact, just in that process of being fully present, you can discover a sense of peace and a sense of joy in the moment. The second mindfulness practice to strengthen your skill of attention is to notice when you get distracted. Of course, even when we are trying our best to stay focused, sooner or later we get distracted. Things pop up in the mind, and the practice here is to simply notice as soon as your attention is pulled away, as soon as you realize it, to take note of it, right? Notice whether it was a thought, or notice if there is an emotion that grabs your attention, or whether it was a physical sensation, and simply acknowledge it, right? And when you practice to notice when you get distracted, it helps to build awareness of distraction in the moment. And you can name it to tame it. And then the third practice, which is essential, is as soon as you notice that you're getting distracted, return your attention back to your anchor point. That's the object where you set your intention on, right? And for this practice, it's important not to linger with the thought, right? When the mind wanders, even if it's tempting, even if it's interesting or fascinating, for this practice, don't keep following the thought or the feeling. Acknowledge it, right? Recognize it, and return back to the object of your attention. And also try to avoid judging yourself for not being perfect, for getting distracted. Returning is the practice for now. I'll leave it there. I'll also leave a link in the description of this video if you'd like me to send you a free checklist with recommendations to build a habit of more focused attention. And if you really want to train to strengthen your attention and your power to focus, mindfulness meditation is a powerful vehicle for that. And I'll be offering a deep dive on this soon, so stay tuned. And until next time, take good care of your attention.